Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Collectors with Cards Drinking Coffee. Today we have probably the greatest guest that we'll ever have on this show. I mean, you see him here, you know who he is. He goes by many names. KingPokemon, Gary from Pawn Stars, Gary, Gare Bear, whatever you want to call him. We got Gary. How you doing?
Just
sir?
don't say what my wife calls me.
What's that?
Okay. Oh boy.
Oh, we'll leave that. We'll leave it out. I kind of guessed with Gare Bear. I don't know if that's the cute nickname or not.
I kind of like that.
All right.
Yeah,
perfect.
I don't know why, but I kind of like that. Oh, it's nice to be here, John. You know, I'm glad. We've been talking about this for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
You know, about doing this together, and it just never, you know, the stars never lined up. So
right. You know, I'm
glad we are.
I've seen you do quite a few interviews now online, and I wanted to do this in person with you because I just whatever connection that we have, I just really appreciate the time that we get to spend with each other. So
this is great. Yeah,
so,
this is great. I hope you can come more often now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that I don't have a job,
Right.
I got all the time in the world.
And me too.
So we're here in Vegas, here with at Gary's home here. I want to touch on first last night, Sunday night. We had the huge charity event with Steve Aoki.
Yes.
For the Steve Aoki Foundation, and which donated just over $175,000 to several charities for autism.
Right. And then we have a little bit extra in reserve, and and it's still going on. Part 2 of the charity drive is going on starting this week, where we're giving away signed posters, 16 signatures on each poster. In fact, we should probably show it because some of your people may not have seen the Aoki thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to grab that? It's in the back of my car in the garage. You need the keys. And 16 signatures on each poster. Each of the 16 content creators are going to be giving one away to their communities. And they include, I don't know if I should start naming who they are, but, you know, because I won't remember all 16, but I'm on there for sure.
And you could check his Instagram. He's posted quite a few of them, and we'll show the poster here soon. So 16 are being given away by each of the content creators.
Yes.
And there's 39 of them total, right?
There's 39 total.
Or you're doing a little copy of the Pikachu Illustrator.
Each of the other, that came off the Illustrator. That's the whole reason I picked that number. Okay. Yes. Each of the content creators have already autographed security stickers, you know, which go on each poster. So there's 16 signatures on each poster. That seems to get misunderstood quite a bit. Thinking that it's just that content creator who's signing the poster. Right. It's all 16 of us on each poster. And people like Leon Hart, Lee Steinfeld, Real Breakin' Nate, Super Duper Danny, Pokemon Revolution.
Rhyme Styles,
right.
Our Lord and Savior S.M. Pratt.
Oh, S.M. Pratt's there, and he's dressed up like Zeus on the poster. Lootbox TV, you know, is there. Of course, our Australian favorite, Unlisted Leaf, Michael or Ando, you know, is on there. One of the OGs, Poke Collection from New Zealand. He's one of the old. He's probably the oldest timer besides me on there. And did I say Super Duper Danny?
Super Duper Danny, Rusty, TCA Gaming.
Yes.
Deep Ruse, Where's My Pokedex? It's just riddled with big names. So
plus Autism Instruct, who is my wife. You know, she's on there also because she does the charity organizing. Plus, she's doing pretty good on her Pokemon Instagram too. She has over 4,000 people on there. So she's doing good on that too.
Yeah, me and her are having a little race. We're first to 4,000 between me and your wife.
Yeah, she's been telling me for 2 years, how many's John got? How many's John got? No, not really.
Here's the poster, actually.
Bring it over here.
We'll see.
Here, real fast, just say hi to the. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
There's this your Instagram name is
Autism Instruct.
Autism Instruct. Yes. So, be sure to give her a follow. She's, very devoted, to the hobby and very devoted to our charity and hopefully devoted to me. I think so.
She's the true brains behind all the Pokemon buys.
She is absolutely the brains and the only one who can give permission. So I'm very nice to her. Okay.
Let's show off this this here.
Yeah, show close-ups. They haven't seen close-ups. Here, I'll hold it.
Go
look.
That's actually perfect. Yeah, we've got Gary here. We've got SM Pratt, Nate, Super Duper Danny, Livernois, everybody we talked about. Dino, old school Pokemon, good friend there. Yeah, I think we hit just about everybody.
Yes.
You can see their signatures here, and they're all coming out of Pokeballs with the starters and first edition when they're printing at the bottom here as well. So a really nice art piece to throw up on your wall.
And this was designed by the absolute genius of Darian Bruce. Darian Bruzon, D. Bruce. He's doing all of our charity shirts, and we were lucky enough to get him to do the poster for us. And again, you saw those. You've seen pictures before, but not necessarily with the autographs on it. Now you guys probably for the first time, because we showed it on the live stream, but it was from a distance back, and you really couldn't see anything.
Right.
Now you guys are actually seeing this for the first time, the entire poster, close up where you can actually see, see it. So again, each one of those content creators gets to keep one for themselves, for their own wall, not for sale or anything, and then they give one away to their community. And it's $10 donations, gives you a chance for each one of the, to win one of these posters through each one of those people. When you go to make that donation, you're going to see there's 16 different links, mine and everybody else's, where you can actually enter $10 under each one of us and improve your chances of winning one, or maybe winning more than one.
And this will be on aokifoundation.org, correct?
Yes, aokifoundation.org/Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And you'll be seeing it through all of us. They're going to see. I'm going to be, like I go crazy with advertising stuff. I'll have it up there all the time, and these other folks will also. And I'll tell you, they're just all so excited about it. And this started 6 months ago. I have all the posters made already.
Right.
It started 6 months ago with the design, with the idea, and then the design. And it didn't take more than 10 seconds for any one of the content creators to say yes.
Right.
Let's do it. They fortunately, I guess I deserved a little bit of respect knowing what I was doing. So they jumped right on because of me. And now it's turned into something that's absolutely tremendous. And it's part 2 of our charity drive. Last night ended part 1. And so this will be part 2. And already today we're doing Zoom meetings about next year's, towards the end of next year, our charity drive. So this is going to be an ongoing thing and very, very important thing to us. Steve's focus is on brain health and depression and things like that. And my focus is on autism, and we combine the two together. And so, and I love his passion, he loves my passion, and that's why this relationship is working so well. So no, they're going to be hearing a whole lot about this, and next year there's some just absolutely crazy, exciting things are going to be attached to this charity. So just wait and see.
Yeah, it's incredible what Pokemon has been able to do. Starting last year with Leonhardt's NAMI fundraiser, getting 60,000 was incredible. This year he broke 300,000.
Yes, he did.
It's just absolutely incredible. It's really inspiring, and part of the reason that I am trying to become a little bit of a content creator, because I want to involve a charity of my own at some point
Right.
and get that outreach because we all have our own special.
Well,
cases
we've
that we
already
wanna-
talked about it. Next year, you'll be on there anyway. So,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have a poster for sure.
Yeah.
Another design, but another poster. So,
We have to do jungle or Neo Genesis theme. Well, there's plenty of
Right.
ideas. I'm sure we'll float around.
yes.
So yeah, if you guys haven't seen that video, it's twitch.tv/Steve Aoki on Twitch. You can watch the VOD, watch the opening of the base set box. A lot of fun. I mean, watching you open up that box, although people complain a little bit about how you do it,
Right.
you could see how giddy and happy you were digging
Yes.
in for those packs and pulling them out, getting ready to open that thing.
Well, the way I've always opened boxes that way, and I've been a card grader since 1994, so I know a little bit about taking care of stuff, and so I've always opened them that way. I never let on about it. I never told people about that. I kept that a secret, but the way I would do it is by pulling one pack out at a time. So it was really easy. You open it that way, you get one pack out, you get another pack, go through all 36 packs, and then there's not the little bit of a struggle like I had with that box last night.
Right.
But the box last night, I was under pressure to get them out of there because we had to get them out and on the thing because we were sticking to a schedule. And so I did something I had never done before, and that is take out more than one pack at a time.
Yeah.
And so I grabbed a few, and then I had to force it out. So, it was a little uncomfortable. But as it turns out, the box is in absolutely beautiful condition. The cards are absolutely perfect. So fortunately, no damage was done. But I know it kind of looked bad. It kind of looked like an old man with trouble with his fingers trying to get them out and that. But it wasn't that. I was trying to rush where I never did have to before. So, yeah. But the funny thing is, all of the people who bought packs, the 36 people who bought packs, the 1,000 people who donated, not a single one of them complained about that.
Oh yeah.
The only complaints I got, were from the typical, what do you call them?
Behind the screen
Yeah.
people, the ones that aren't as
Keyboard
familiar.
warriors or
Thank you.
something
that's
like that.
That's the exact word right there.
Yes.
Well, it's funny. I had this conversation a little bit with Cool Trainer Ryan on my last
Mm-hmm.
podcast about how delicate people handle boxes and packs.
Mm-hmm.
These things were designed and built this way to be shipped across the world.
Right.
They shipped at the time. They were $100 base set boxes put into a cardboard box, and
True.
they made it just fine wherever they went.
Yes.
And now people, yes, I strongly advocate for shipping with bubble wrap and as much protection as possible now because they are so expensive. But they're sturdy, they're durable. If it gets a little dent, it's okay.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it's a little different when you're shipping a $100 box or a $30,000 box.
Right.
A little bit different.
Right,
Yeah, you
right.
want to do it differently.
Right, but
And that-
still the cards are okay in there if you're handling it a little
Right.
rough. So
But all the people that mattered, totally got it.
Yeah.
They knew I was under a time constraint. They just instinctively knew. Of course, almost all of them know me.
Right.
Right. And they know my grading history and that, and so the people that mattered, none of them, all of them understood, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
And like I said, we examined every single card and the box. I have the box here somewhere, and it's in absolutely perfect condition, and it has the wrap on it.
Great display piece.
Great display piece. And in fact, I'm not going to say it because it's not the recipient doesn't know it yet, but it's going to get autographed inside of an acrylic case, autographed and presented to somebody who's been a tremendous help for the charity in that. And so, and it's going to be, it looks beautiful inside the acrylic cases or the plastic cases. So, and then Steve and I are going to be autographing it and then presenting it to somebody this week.
Yeah,
so
so
I can't really say who.
Speaking of that, if you guys didn't catch, I had Gary and Steve sign all of my cards from the pack opening, and I will be auctioning them off on eBay, 100% going to charity.
Yes.
I did keep one for myself. I had to be a little selfish.
Yeah, out of 11 cards, he kept one.
And to keep a memory. So hopefully I don't get any hate for that. But
No,
we pulled some decent cards. We got a War Turtle, Bulbasaur, Electrode, and some other commons and uncommons. I wanted to ask you actually.
Yes.
I plan on just selling them as is
Right.
and not get them graded or authenticated. Because what I've seen from autograph collectors, a lot of them have really nice binder sets.
True.
And I think leaving it open to the people that want it, they can grade it themselves if they want and get it authenticated. Do you think that's a good idea?
Perfect.
Okay.
That's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
If they want it graded, they can always do it. Most won't want it graded. A lot of the autograph collectors I know, it's the same thing.
Right.
They keep a binder. They go through the the signatures as they scroll through the binder.
Yeah.
And now, as far as getting authenticated, those are all signed right on the card, right?
Right.
We sign those, Steve and I, on the card. That'd be a little hard to get authenticated anyway, because
it's a arduous process to get new signatures into the system and all that. So
yes,
so I'll be starting the auctions. This will come out this Thursday, so I'll be starting the auctions tomorrow, Friday, for a 7-day auction. I'll split them up maybe a couple minutes apart, unlike our favorite auction site that puts them seconds after each other.
Let's not say that. Let's not say who, but we all know who you mean.
Well, but we do love them. We do love them. They're great.
They're helping our charity.
They're helping the charity as well. No, PWCC, they're fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
Love them.
Yes.
They're doing a great thing. I think that night was incredible. I can't thank you enough for letting me be a part of it. And,
I'm so
and
glad
also
you were
coming along and meeting Steve and meeting his team there. Everyone there is just great people. So.
Yeah, well, it was especially nice having you there because I'm not 100% up on all the current values.
Oh, yeah.
In that I just don't, I've been so busy with the charity and how these numbers have changed over the last few weeks. So it was nice to have you there to lean on a little bit, give me some of the current values and stuff. So I certainly appreciated that.
I did what I could, but they're changing almost by the minute at this point.
I know. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I want to dive into your story a little bit. Get to know Gary. We've heard your story of what Pokemon and how it started with your son and the Charizard, and we know you've. Well, maybe not a lot of some of us know some of the stories, but let's take it back to maybe your childhood and becoming and finding that collector bug.
Yeah.
Because we had this conversation the first time we met about my dad is a collector and I got that from him and was collecting coins and whatnot as a kid. So how did that? What was the first thing that got your fix?
Yeah, it's kind of odd because I was born in 1954 in the heart of Hollywood, California. My mom was a personal assistant to an actress, Lucille Ball, who from the I Love Lucy shows and stuff. So I grew up mainly in the hallways of the movie studios and Desilu Studios, which was hers and her husband's studio, and that was like for the first 5, 6, 7 years of my life. So, like I was telling you, back then we didn't even have a TV set, right? And so we just had to kind of share neighbors' TVs. So it's a long time ago, and it was a little bit of a disadvantage because my dad was not a collector. My mom was not a collector. We didn't know any collectors. Them coming through the Depression era, the last thing on their minds was being able to collect stuff, right? Although there's a little interesting story with that. I'll add to it in a second. They didn't have money for food. They certainly didn't have money, to buy collectibles and things. But one of the interesting things is during downturns or during, people's low times in their life, collectibles are often turned to, because maybe the only enjoyment they're going to have is through the things they love or the memories they had, during happier times.
Right.
And a good example of that was during the Depression and shortly, during the rebuilding, shortly after. The hottest business in the world was movie theaters. People wanted to escape. People wanted to escape the hard times of the Depression during the late 1920s, early 1930s. And so that's where my parents came up from. They came up from that time period. They wanted to be entertained. They needed to be entertained because of the difficult times, but collectibles were the last thing on their minds.
Right.
So I didn't have the advantage of of course your parents are younger, so they didn't come up at that same time. So
Well, actually,
I didn't have that.
My dad was born in 50.
But I mean, in 1920.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's like my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, your dad would be about my age. When was your dad born?
56.
Okay, so I'm even older than your dad. Son. Yeah, but so with I didn't have the advantage of my parents, having that collector's bug.
Right.
For me, why did it happen? It's really, really hard to say, but it happened right away. In the late 1950s, when I was just 4 or 5 years old, I can remember to this day collecting bottle caps with football players on the inside of the bottle caps.
Okay.
And I can remember getting those little bottle caps and taping them to a sheet, with my Los Angeles Rams guys. I get so happy when I got one of theirs. I go with a magnet to all the little, I've never told these stories before, by the way. I'd go to all the vending machines where you click off the top and drink your thing with a magnet to get those bottle caps out of there because I wanted to complete, the sheet, complete the set.
Yeah.
That was my first exposure, and certainly what proved the importance of being a completionist.
Yeah.
Having a set, having to complete it, no matter how hard it was. So that's where now that didn't start from any influence or whatever. It was just something I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And then I got into science fiction magazines, old pulps from the 1920s, which were kind of, a little bit available. Most of them were burned up for World War II, were burned up for the war. But some got through. Then Mad magazines, which came out in the 1950s. That was huge. I loved Mad magazines. Yeah. And in fact, back then it was a comic. It was Mad Comics.
Okay.
Before it turned into Mad magazines. Because comics, the comic board came and put restrictions on what was allowed inside comics. Oh. And Mad was a little edgy even then.
Yeah.
And so they changed their format to a magazine so they weren't covered by that law. And so that started on issue. It's crazy, I know these things. That started on issue number 24. And I still have, I think, my original one that doesn't have the cover on it anymore of that. But anyway, so then I started collecting that Silver Age comics from the 40s, 50s, 60s, or 50s and 60s. Few Golden Age, not much, unfortunately.
Right.
I don't have them today. And then it was pretty much everything. From then, I loved the television cards, like the Munsters and the Addams Family and
Star Trek. Right?
Oh, the Star Trek cards. Yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say I either had or have every single TCG game ever created.
Right.
At one point or another, I either had it or I have it today. Mm-hmm. I would say we could fill up a storage container full of my magazines and comics and trading cards, just with those. Now, I think it's only fair to say 95% of all that stuff is probably worth absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Just total, value-wise, no value. I was going to say garbage because I love them so much that I can't use that word for them. But money-wise, there is no money there at all.
No monetary value.
No monetary value.
Maybe there's a couple things you got to start digging.
Now there's a few things. Yeah, there are a few
each
things.
Each set has their trophy.
Right. Yes,
their
true.
chase cards.
Yeah, and usually it's the number one card because we used to always put cards in numerical order, and the number one was always hit with the rubber band that we put around them. So the first and last card in the set always had a premium, no matter what it was, though they normally put a good guy in the number one spot. Yeah. But anyway, I loved collecting. I got into just absolutely everything.
Yeah, so with cards specifically, you own a shop, correct, at one point?
Yeah, but that's well later.
Well later, okay.
Yeah, well later.
So
2000, that was 2001, 2002.
Okay.
Until 2004, 2005.
Gotcha. So you just dove into everything, like you said, without having a business end yet. This was purely collecting, purely hobby.
I worked, I went to school and, went to work. Oh, I did have a store right out. I went to UCLA, the University of California, Los Angeles, and studied biochemistry was my major, and my minor was in journalism. And right out of college, I opened up a retail store. I was already had that mindset, right? And what it was a video television store right on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. And I got lucky. It was right at the time when video cassette recorders came out, where you could record the shows on your TV for the first time and watch them, right? Yeah. And there was the battle between beta and VHS, the two different formats.
Yeah.
And I mean, we opened that, me and a friend opened that store right at that time. And we were successful because you pretty much couldn't fail. It was so strong, right? It's kind of like, today with Pokemon cards, if you started collecting last year, there's no way you didn't make money, right? Well, it's kind of that way. Yeah. And so we ended up opening the store and doing pretty well. My parents wanted a scientist, and so they paid my way through college and that. But I always hated it, or I not hated it, but I wasn't interested in it. Right. My minor of journalism, I was interested in. I wanted to pursue that, but they wouldn't have it. Yeah. So that was my minor, and I wrote for the Daily Bruin, the UCLA newspaper, and I was an editor for a period of time, and did just absolutely loved that. But then opened up the retail store. The store did well, and then I got sick. And again, a lot of these stories I've never told anybody. Nobody knows this. You've seen a lot of interviews with me,
right?
And it's always the same story, same questions.
Right. We've talked about this personally too.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to share if you don't want.
Oh, I don't mind at all. No. My life's an open book. My life is totally an open book. So I got sick and had to leave the business, put my brother in charge with my partner, and I came up here to Las Vegas for treatment, and recovered. Loved the atmosphere of Las Vegas. Loved the casinos. Loved that industry at first, and so I started going to work, up here. Starting in as a Keno writer. Back then we had to use markers. Of course, it's all computerized now. And then kind of moved up the ladder, went and got eventually into casino management,
right, with
the Sahara Hotel, and then got an opportunity back in Los Angeles to work for the Bicycle Club in Southern California, in Bell Gardens, California, and working in the Asian Games section, Pai Gow Poker, Super Pan 9, those games. I went to work there and managed that area for a while. Well, actually, I was there for 10 years, and then got sick again with another type of cancer, and had to get out of that and go through treatments and everything. And then when I came out of it was in 1998, right when Pokemon was going through a big run in Japan, and. Did you want to get into this part yet? This time period?
So I mean, you obviously got great use out of that biomed degree. But
yeah, I have a great microscope in the other room.
I know. We talked about this before. You got into casino management, even a little bit of hotel management. Didn't you go out outside of the U.S.? Didn't you?
Yeah, went to Vietnam. Went to Vietnam. Ran a resort right on the South China Sea.
Yeah.
In fact, that's where Long Hai Beach Resort. Yep, near Vung Tau in Vietnam. That's where I met my adorable wife. Autism Instruct. You see, we just changed her name from Thuan Tong-Haase to Autism Instruct, and so that's where we met. And what year was that? 2007?
No, 2008.
Okay, that was in 2008, and Thuan I was the director of the resort, and Thuan was the assistant director of the resort, which I needed. She's brilliant. She was in hotel management for years, got degrees in Vietnam, for hotel management. And plus, unfortunately, the majority of our employees, in fact, just about all our employees, they didn't speak English.
Right.
So I couldn't communicate with them, and I would have needed a translator. But Thuan was nice enough, even though she was swamped with duties, she was nice enough to act as my interpreter too, and that kind of brought us closer together.
Right.
And
always a little tricky at work.
yeah, especially here because like we both lived on property at the resort. We had these beautiful resort rooms that we lived in. Separate rooms, was it? Yeah, that's right, it was.
For the first part. The first part it was separate.
Yeah, pretty much the whole time.
We'll leave the rest of that to your imagination.
Right, but we fell in love, and we had a decision to make. When I gave that up, either she would come back with me to the United States, which is what I wanted, or I would stay there with her, which is what she wanted. And me having two middle teenage boys here, I explained that I had to come back, at least until they were, out of the nest. And so I made a deal with Thuan that if you come back with me for 5 years and you aren't, happy or satisfied with it, then I'll move with you back to Vietnam and I'll make that my home in that. And so after that 5 years was up, she had already gone to UNLV, gotten another degree, and in fact now she's just finishing her master's. She changed her path from hotel management, which UNLV has a terrific school. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, changed it to special education autism because our little girl, has autism. Yeah, and so she developed a love and an interest in that, whereas the other major was just simply what she was good at and what she was familiar with. Yeah. She followed, and I think it's a good lesson for all of us. Don't do what I did. No matter what your parents say, right? Follow your dream. Journalism should have been my major. I love that. And the sciences, I didn't love. But I did it anyway, and I regret it to this day. Yeah. For Thuan, she started off in hotel management, but then she switched. All of a sudden, she went with her passion. Yeah. And it's worked out absolutely tremendously. And she's happy as kids. It's hard for an immigrant to get her master's degree,
I can imagine.
Here, especially somebody where English is her third language. She speaks Vietnamese and Chinese and then English. Okay. And so she lived and worked in Taiwan for a while also and spoke Chinese, Chinese speaking place. Yeah. And so that's kind of a good tip, I think, for everybody. Follow your dream. No matter how difficult it seems. Hey, listen, I'm 66 today, right? And I mean, it's the blink of an eye. It goes by. Honest to God, it just goes by in the blink of an eye. And don't have any regrets. Make decisions based on what you love and how you really feel. And I swear you'll never regret it.
Yeah, I mean that's the step that I took this year. A few months ago, I quit my 9-to-5 that I had just been. It drove me to depression, and I've been sitting in it for too long, and I finally pulled the plug, thankfully, because Pokemon gave me that opportunity. Right. And although I'm parting with some of my collection to stay afloat, I'm enjoying it and I'm loving it, and wherever it takes me, I can't wait to find out.
Now, when you were in Los Angeles,
I was in San Jose. I was up.
Or when you were living in. Did I ever tell you about my train crash?
No.
I was in a train crash, the third car in a big train crash in San Jose, California.
Really?
So I have a little attachment to San Jose. Oh boy. And anytime I hear that song, do you know the way to San Jose? Oh yes. It was a big, dozens of people died in the train crash and everything. And, wow. And I was just running up and down the aisles. And so my parents were in back cars, and I was just going up through the front cars. But fortunately, nothing happened to me.
And your parents, they were okay?
Oh, yeah, they were okay. Yeah, they were further back,
okay.
So they didn't get.
See that, yeah.
But when you were in San Jose, what were you doing there?
I was selling robotic arms for automation. Well, to be honest, I was really trying to find Pokemon cards more than working. So.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I was doing, and.
But then when
It
you
just-
left there
Yeah.
to move, what was your mindset?
Well,
What was
yeah,
your-
it was a weird timing. I don't know if it was perfect timing or whatnot, but my lease had just ended.
Mhm.
You know, a week before shutdowns
Oh.
started happening with the pandemic.
Mm.
You know, and I was paying $3,000 a month in California. I was sick of it. You know, because at that time to me it was one base set box a month was gone.
Right.
That's how I was picturing it. So
with little wings, you see it flying
exactly.
away.
and honestly, I had the opportunity to buy one every month because of the connections I had. But
Right.
I sucked it up. I said I'm moving back home with the parents.
Mhm.
You know, thankfully my job, they allow me to keep my same job, but moving over to back to the headquarters in
Oh,
Michigan.
so you did do that.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
did maintain the same employment.
Right. So
in-
I kept the same
in Michigan.
employment, and
Oh,
of
okay.
course we got hit with the shutdowns, and
Right.
you know, I was pondering it for at least a year of quitting while I was in California, and you know, I moved back home, and I was in, you know, this pandemic came around at a good time where hey, I can kind of get away again with
Right.
spending more time on Pokemon, and
Yes.
you know, it kind of built up to a point where I started feeling bad about it, and
Mm-hmm.
mixing that in with I really don't enjoy what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Let's just call it quits and
Right.
and see what happens with Pokemon. So I did move out pretty quick from the
Mhm.
parents' house,
Right.
get back out on my own.
Mhm.
But yeah, you know, that's just something that it's a tough mental thing to do, especially when you're on your own for a while and
Right.
moving back in with the parents. But
Well,
you
I
know,
got to tell you, I give anybody credit who can maintain any kind of lifestyle down there, you know, in California. I mean, it is just, and I was born and raised there.
Mhm.
It was nothing like this, right? I mean, we didn't have horses and carriages. There were cars, but I mean, it's nothing like it is now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you guys even manage it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you know, they pay well out there still, but
Yeah.
still not well enough. I mean, unless you're selling companies to
Mhm.
and doing startups and making a bunch of money that way.
did you
yeah.
take a pay cut from there to Michigan?
I did.
Same company?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because they had
Oh.
given me a raise to go out there at
Oh,
first, because
okay.
they're the ones that sent me out. So
Oh.
I just it was fair. I wasn't complaining. You
I
know.
see. Right.
I was even with the pay cut, I ended up still making more money technically. So I was fine with it. It was
Oh.
okay. But yeah, we got off track a little bit. Let's get into Pokemon. So you mentioned 1998. You saw a huge trend happening in Japan. What
Yeah.
what drove that? What
Things,
was that spark?
you know, things were happening in Vietnam, I mean in Japan, where you would hear about it outside of Japan. You would hear about it throughout Europe. You would hear about it in the United States. You know, things having to do with different, you know, with Akira and, you know, different, you know, animes.
Toys and anime.
Toys and anime. I mean, it normally, you know, the Japanese are you know pretty protective and close knit, you know, with their companies. They don't give out a lot of information. They don't want to share a lot of their, you know, you know methods and things
Right.
outside of Japan, and they try to keep, you know, the information inside. And so, but I mean, there were things happening with anime in that line that were escaping, and you'd hear about it everywhere. I think one I talk about the most is that one episode of Pokemon where they had the, you know, the lights and
The
was
Porygon,
sending-
right? The
yeah.
Porygon episode.
that was sending kids into seizures,
Mm-hmm.
and things were, and again, I've said this part before, but I thought, man, how cool is that? So that must really be that wouldn't be so cool if it was your child, you know,
Right.
getting the thing, and that was highly exaggerated. You know, it did happen to a few people,
Right.
you know, that had
And-
epilepsy or
And let me be honest.
yeah.
I still haven't watched that because I'm truly scared.
Well, you know what? I
don't even want
since-
to test it. I don't even want to test it.
Since you're almost my son, I can't let you watch that. I can't let you do it.
Thank you. Thanks, Dad.
So anyway, and then when Pokemon hit, and all the things that were going on, and the mad frenzy, and the pictures of downtown Tokyo, and the, you know, every single store, a card shop, and all that, I thought, well, this is pretty unprecedented.
Yeah.
I said, this is just, especially coming from one of those tight Asian countries. And so I thought, well, I wonder how I can get involved in this. And so I ended up, doing some investment things, bringing some of this before there was English, bringing some of those Japanese products over here, and selling them on TV, on the equivalent to our home shopping network.
Right.
In that.
Right. The first ones were they the CD promos or were they the Gen 2?
Yeah, the first ones were the CD promos, and I mean we used to, and again I was a sports card collector too.
Right.
All those years, and so I was grading with PSA going all the way back to 1994, and because of that, I thought, well, let's get these cards graded. And so we got them graded. Like if you look at the pop reports, you see these ridiculous numbers, 5,000,
Charizard 10s.
Venusaurs, Venusaurs and, the Blastoise, Charizards. Of course, those always seemed okay, the Charizards, but the other ones suffered a little. And then there was a little Japanese card stock, No Shadow Pikachu.
Yeah.
Included in them. My God, I love those. I just love shadowless cards from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so, and sure enough, and we would sell them the main three, Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, and PSA 10 for $1,000. 3 equal payments of $333 in that. And I hope I got those numbers still right in my memory, but I'm pretty sure. And so. And then when I heard that they were doing a base set release in English, and that I thought, what an absolute gold mine this is going to be.
So with bringing in the Japanese stuff, you said you made an investment. Did you have a contact over in Japan?
Yeah,
that was involved with Media Factory.
Yeah, well, it was Media Factory themselves.
Okay.
You see, it was overwhelming. And I hate to speak for them, but just based on my observation of the time, Pokemon was overwhelming for them, right? I mean, it was. I mean, they were getting so much attention outside the country, and like I said, almost every single storefront was a card shop, or a shop that would sell Pokemon cards. They were overwhelmed, with the popularity. They were never seen anything like it, and so when I saw that, I thought, well, they would probably like to relieve some of that pressure, right? And sure enough, they did. They did. Now, once they got caught up, and once we got it out in English, and that now suddenly they closed up.
Did you have
wanted nothing to do with me? Wanted nothing to do with any of us?
So did you have a direct rep? Like one representative, or
dealt
were you
directly with the main guy at Media. I shouldn't even say that. I'm not even going to say the main guy. With the heads of Media Factory. There was no. I don't want to say that part. But like, that's how. I just knew that this was going to be hot, and sure enough, the English release was given to Media Factory in Washington, up here, Renton, Washington, and so I couldn't have gotten there fast enough, right? Trying to set something up with them,
right?
Of which I failed. I was unsuccessful. Wasn't able to get in, on it. Besides getting, stuff I wanted. That's how I ended up with my first base box.
Right. Well, was the struggle there because I think you mentioned this before, that they were doing so well with Magic at the time, right?
Yes.
So they weren't really worried about getting random guys to help distribute.
Yeah. There was no. I think it was a little bit more. There was no need to distribute.
Gotcha.
They could easily, through their own channels, release, because the popularity wasn't there.
Right.
Some of us were passionate about it because of the overall picture, but not until the set actually hit the shelf and the cartoons were translated into English.
And the video game.
And the video, the video games were big, at the time too. But then once They miscalculated, I think. Yeah, Wizards miscalculated that initial. You see, it was supposed to be 10% first edition print run. 10% of the overall run was going to be first edition base. They ended up reprinting and reprinting and reprinting the base. So the first edition might have ended up, they might have done 10, and I shouldn't say that because I hate to say unless I'm sure. I'm going to say somewhere between 4 and 10 reprints of the base set. Boom, as fast as they could get them out.
I wonder, this is the first time I'm thinking of it. I wonder if with that's the thought, those are the numbers we've heard for a long time from you and from others. If 10% of first edition base, hi Cara, how are you? You want to say hi?
Eventually.
If 10%,
she's been so good.
Yeah, if 10% of the first edition base of Shadowless. So I wonder if that was the ratio, and then once, like you said, they realized they kind of messed up. That's when the reprint started going crazy, and that's where the Unlimited and the Shadow started.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the way it at least appeared at the time, and probably was that they printed those sheets. The sheets, of course, were all non-first edition.
Right.
The stamps were added later. They did a bunch. They thought there was going to be a little more pre-order demand, and there wasn't. They thought there was going to be, so they just printed those up, and they figured, well, this is going to be 10% of the run. They had sheets left over. Of course, I've said before, Wizards never threw away anything. They didn't throw away a used rubber band. I mean, which is why we end up with all these oddities today.
Right.
You know, like the triangle base packs and things like that. They don't want to throw away anything. Yeah. Well, they did. They didn't want to throw away those leftover first edition sheets, which were unstamped.
Okay.
And so what they did is they suddenly they hit the shelves. They started getting these huge pre-orders, and now they started printing those Shadowless sheets.
Okay.
And plus, they cut them up and put them in their replacement rooms. Okay. They had a replacement room that if you got a bad holo in your set, you mail it back to them. They would mail you back a card, which I didn't take too much advantage of that, right?
Yeah,
because I was putting little cuts on the cards and sending them back, hoping that Shadowless would keep coming.
Right.
Keep coming to me, and then they finally got the artwork finished. They got the new sheets done, and then you had the shadowed version.
Okay.
If I had to put a number on it, let them see. Say hello.
Say hello.
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 Welcome to the podcast.
You know how to use that, huh?
Microphone.
Microphone.
Who's your
good.
favorite Pokemon?
Microphone.
Who's your favorite Pokemon?
Steve Aoki's house.
Oh, Steve Aoki's house.
That's my favorite Pokemon too.
Steve Aoki is Kara's best friend. She wants every day we go over quite a bit, but she wants to go over every single day.
After I went there for one day, I would love to go there too. It's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Foam pits, trampolines,
right?
All the good stuff.
Yes. Swimming pool, yeah, diving off the roof, and
Pokemon cards lying around everywhere. It's great.
Yes. So anyway, if I had to make a guess on the numbers, I think their intention was, in fact, I know initially their intention was 10% of the print run. Yeah. And then with the Shadowless that were left over, at least with the holo sheets, it appeared at the time that they were in lesser quantity than first edition. And then once the shadowed version artwork got changed, and then those came. That was the end. Okay. All the rest of the Shadowless went into the replacement room.
Okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense now because thinking about the pop report, Shadowless is is lower than first edition. So
right.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there's like 50 PSA 10, 55 Charizards.
That was 63.
Oh, are they 63? Oh.
I could be completely wrong. I don't know if that's just a number I might be throwing out randomly, but
yeah.
Well, yeah, they're. Yeah,
and then first edition, 120. It's been stuck on that number forever.
Just over 2 years now, I think.
Can you imagine how amazing that is? No first edition PSA 10 Charizards graded in 2 years.
And I pulled one. Leonhardt pulled one. Logan pulled one. someone else pulled one. I don't remember who. So I think 4 have been pulled this year.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 9.5 in Beckett. Sold it, unfortunately.
But you knew it wouldn't get a 10.
You know, we talked about it. I had people look at the pixels of the centering because the only issue was the centering.
Okay.
And it fell within the parameters of a 10.
Okay.
But by eye appeal, not a chance. So if they truly took the microscope and looked at the pixels, I wholeheartedly believe that it fell within the parameters, but I couldn't accept a 10 on it because the centering just wasn't pleasing enough.
If I can add on to that, I had a Blastoise, or I have a Blastoise. That was absolutely flawless all the way around, absolutely perfect, not a single thing wrong with it, and the centering was a little bit off.
Mm-hmm.
I put it on E4, on the site E4, and the guys came in and did the pixel counts and all that, and they said it fell 59-41.
Right.
So it fell within the 40-60 parameters and deserved a 10 in that. But it got a 9. I had it reviewed. They didn't change it. And so that goes to show you right there that that's like mine already got the 9.
Yeah.
Yours hadn't been tried at PSA, but it was probably an identical card.
Yeah,
in that, the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
But
Yeah, but with those
think-
5 you mentioned that were just pulled,
Right.
yours got a 9.5 Beckett's.
right.
Lee's
got a
Leon
9.
Hart got a 9.
Yeah, and I think centering was his issue as well.
Uh-huh.
And the other one got it. Did it get an 8.5 at Beckett or a 9? It got a low. I think it got a 9 at Beckett.
Okay.
And then the one that Logan pulled, I haven't seen.
Right.
So who knows? But
Yeah, I'm a little surprised we haven't heard about that. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh. Well, it definitely didn't get a 10.
yeah, we would have known.
We would have known.
Or was that the pristine, the third pristine?
I don't think
it
so.
was line. It didn't line up right with the time.
No.
timeline.
Not only the time, but the cards submitted before and after
Right.
wouldn't have matched up with that.
Right. So, all right. Well, so you got in heavy right away. Try to get in the Wizards. What happened after they? I mean, did you keep trying? Did you keep poking at them, trying to?
No, I just went up there. I just went up there and tried to get my foot in the door, and on any type of basis, even if it would have been just a middleman for card shops or whatever, and couldn't, and then I just started hoarding. I just started buying, going everywhere. My wife would travel all over the city, going she knew all the release times for these places, and get there and get the product. We drove all over the western states together as a family with our 2 little boys, and just buying up, going to all the places, buying up all the stuff we could. I sold some on Yahoo USA at the time. I got up to 2,000 rated on there, so I sold quite a bit, I guess. But that's because I got so much of it, and we made good money on it. Remember, I had mentioned I got sick,
Right.
and this gave me something to do while I was going through early treatments of that. And
Oh, yeah, I mean that was the same case for me, getting sick and getting into Pokemon, as it is for a lot of us, especially from the E4 members that I've had on my podcasts.
yes,
So, we've seen the picture of your pile of base set boxes. I forget what we calculated at, but it was like 100 or 200 boxes from back in the day. Were you, and like you said, you just recognized this craze, and you were just going in hard and hoarding. So you were buying boxes, you were buying first edition, were you buying bait, you were buying, was Fossil out yet? What was going on there?
no, in the very beginning, of course, just the base. But the interesting thing is, and how I decided to sell some, is that I would fill up binder pages with the base set hollows. So I might have, a page of 9 Alakazams, next page 9 Alakazams, and then if I got 1 or 2 more Alakazams, I wouldn't start a new page. I would just put it on Yahoo USA,
Okay.
and that's true of all those numbers. And that's how I sold so many. But that shows you how many.
So you
I had.
were ripping boxes and selling
Oh,
singles.
open like crazy.
Yeah,
Oh
okay.
yeah. Selling odd singles.
Right.
Oddball ones. Ones that, and there wasn't a lot of money in it. I remember one of my. I used to pull a ton of Zapdos and Polyraths.
Mm-hmm.
I got a disproportionate number, it seemed, of those.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember putting an auction, and this is from 1999. I called it in the title Dynamic Duo, where it was the Zapdos and the Polyrath, and sold them for $19.
Yeah.
For the two of them on Yahoo USA. So and just sold a load of them.
Yeah.
Right. So that tells you what the price was. But the only time I sold was when I had extras in that, and so that's how that developed. To get such a high rating on Yahoo, and plus I still had some connections in Japan where I ended up with and with people from Japan. Steve Gordon back then got a lot of stuff for me. He's since passed away. Got a lot of. I ended up with something like 500 sticker packs. Birthday Pikachus. Graded a whole load of them. The ones I thought I had a chance for 10. A little bit of centering issues on those. Graded those. The PSA 10s at that time, 1999, I got $1,000 a piece for. Talk about one of the things that did not go up, right?
Yeah.
In that, and then PSA 9s, I got $400 for. Sticker packs, I got $400 for in 1999.
About what they're at now, I think.
And that's about what they're at now. See, that's one of those things that did not go up, right? And that proves it, right?
Yeah.
And like Birdman, Eddie Brenneschultz, him and I have been, just, good friends. We've talked thousands of hours about everything.
Yeah.
Real good friends. But he was in on that too. With those birthday Pikachus, he would remember very well, what prices they were, and but they sold for so much more than they should have back then, because birthday Pikachu, the girl Himeno, the artist, I mean, is just terrific. And so when you say, that's her. When you say Pikachu to me, first thing I see is the birthday Pikachu.
Yeah.
Because it's such an iconic, bit of art, and so those, I think everybody felt that way. They loved it. They thought, well, these are super rare, and so we're, $400 for a sticker pack with a birthday Pikachu. It should have probably been about 30, 40, 50 bucks, right? But it wasn't. And then when the Lucky Stadium cards came out, it was pretty much the same story. I remember selling a set of 8. They came and said they were a set of 8 of them, selling them for $2,000 for the set of 8 in 1999 again. Wow. In fact, one of my good friends and a former partner, Joel Angle, he bought a set of those from me, for $2,000, and never let me forget about it, right? Because I think today a set of those would be how much? The Lucky Stadium card.
Sorry, that's
not
one
much
set
at
I
all.
don't know. Yeah,
$30-$40 a piece or something, and that so not everything was a gold mine,
right?
Not everything was a gold mine, but they were unique to the United States. So it was unique art. It was items you couldn't get here, or artwork you couldn't get here, and they were iconic Japanese. Kind of the romantic, side of the hobby, and by the way, when the English, I think it's the number 24 Black Star promo, when that came out, the birthday Pikachus died in pride, totally died, and I knew it was going to when it happened. I remember selling out a whole bunch of mine before the number 24 Black Star was released.
Wow. So you were dealing in Pokemon pretty heavy early on. And then you said you opened up a store in 2001, 2002?
2001, it was, in Columbus, Ohio.
So did this drive of dealing with Pokemon, is that what led to, hey, let's open up a store, or was it something else?
Very much so. It was 100% Pokemon, because the guy I just mentioned, Joel Angle, who never forgave me for that Lucky Stadium set, he lives in Columbus, Ohio, and he heard of the shop that was being sold in Pickerington, Ohio, just a 20-minute drive from Columbus, and he said, "Hey Gary," and by the way, he was a big shadowless collector. That's why him and I were so close, because I was king of the shadowless.
Yeah.
In fact, I was the king without a court. Of shadowless. Nobody else was that interested.
Yeah.
But he was. So he contacted me and he said, I have this guy who's selling his card shop. He's retiring, and I think it was $30,000 for the shop and all of his inventory.
Oh, wow.
And so kind of a can't miss situation. And so I said, you know what, that would be fun, because I hadn't gone back to work.
Mm-hmm.
I gone through my recovery from the second cancer, and so I said, okay, let's do it. So I went out there, I got us all set up, and then my wife and 2 little sons came out and joined us.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I didn't plan on was the weather.
Yeah.
I'm a California boy.
Yeah.
I'm not used to that snow and
I've been. I
you know
grew
what
up
I
there,
mean.
and I'm not used to it.
Right. And like Central Ohio is not as bad, like northern, like Cincinnati or what's north up there,
Akron,
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Cleveland. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But for me, it may as well have been 100 degrees below zero. It was
Yeah.
horrible. I couldn't stand that weather, and there was snow, and I didn't like that. So that only lasted about 2 years.
Okay.
And
Just because of the weather, or
Only
was
because
the
of the
business
weather.
not the business?
business was, enough to get us through, enough to pay the bills.
Yeah.
No, but that wasn't me that time. Ex-wife.
That was an
His
ex-wife.
wife. We
Yeah.
were very conflicted.
Right.
He met
That's
her in
right,
Vietnam,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
She,
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
demon wife.
That was the
Oh.
demon
Yeah.
wife. Okay.
This is the angel. This is
ex-wife.
this is the angel wife
Yeah.
right here.
That's right. So it's
Well, there was one
were-
before her too.
So
Right?
you started the store in 2001. 2 years, you're looking at 2003. So you're at the end of the Wizards of the Coast run with Pokemon.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that was going downhill. What were the other? What else were you doing? Was Beanie Babies big for you? Was
Beanie Babies were not. They had already faded
that
out.
was already faded
Yeah,
out?
they had already faded out.
You were probably doing all the other cards, Magic, Dragon Ball Z,
So
Yu-Gi-Oh.
multiple, especially Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh did well, then. Comics, had comics,
Okay.
which I loved. Had sports.
What was the
and
name of
sold,
the shop?
Dot Comics, Cards and Collectibles. Kind of a play on words. .com,
Yeah.
.comics,
Yeah.
Cards and Collectibles.
So big online presence is
Almost no online
Really?
presence. Yeah,
You went with
almost.
the .com name and no online presence.
It's one of the lessons I
Interesting.
learned was that even though there was eBay, there was at the time Yahoo auctions,
Yeah.
I didn't keep up my online presence.
Gotcha.
When the store started with family stuff,
Right.
I threw myself into that,
Yeah.
and that's why I've said this about to a couple of people. But when TCA Gaming, Rusty, when he opened up a brick and mortar store,
Yeah.
the one bit of advice I gave him was, don't let up on your online presence. Keep pumping that at least as much as you are today, and then do the store along with it.
Yeah.
Don't let the store take away from your presence online
Yeah.
in that. And I learned that from that experience.
Okay.
I was already, making money by then on eBay and Yahoo. I was already making money, with these cards. And when we opened up the store, I totally let it go. I became totally inactive. Very,
Yeah.
very little bit of business.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lesson. I've shared that story with other people that are planning the same thing,
Yeah.
and that's my advice,
Yeah. So 2003, 2004, you fed up with the weather. You moved back to LA?
Yeah, moved to Las Vegas then.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom and dad were older then. Had gotten older, and they, hadn't had much chance to be with the grandchildren with Jay and Devin, and so we decided to move back here so they could spend time and I could be there in their last years.
Yeah.
In that, and then as it was, my mom passed away right smack dab on my 50th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 16 years ago. So that was 2004. Right when we came back, my mom
wow.
passed away, but had a little time,
That's
bit
good.
of time with
Yeah.
the boys.
Great.
And then my dad passed away at 89.
2011.
2011.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why. So we moved back here, and then I got this opportunity in Vietnam. Because I was working for the casinos and that and the resorts, and then I got the opportunity in Vietnam. That's when I went to Vietnam, and of course that ended my online presence again.
Did it end your collecting as a whole? Because now you're in a
Yes.
whole new country. You don't have access to Yahoo USA. You don't. So
But
that
it was
all-
only like for a year, so
Oh, okay.
yeah. But
Okay.
still,
So you spent only a year out in Vietnam
yes,
and tricked her into coming out here,
yes, I did,
and
and she's always regretted it.
so once you came back, did you ever own a second store? Did you own a store in LA at one point, or was that the retail?
That was the video
VCR?
television
Okay.
store.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you get back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go back into hotel or casino management here, or do you dive in? Are you making enough money on your inventory of old cards that's what you start doing full
Yeah,
time?
I was primarily making enough money doing that. Yeah,
Okay.
with my, although I picked up a couple jobs here and there at the Excalibur, I think. My wife could remind me, but at the Excalibur, and I worked for the Cannery Company, a couple of their casinos,
Okay.
and did those for on and off, for a year at a time,
Yeah.
little bit like that,
Okay.
and but primary income, came from collectibles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was it mostly Pokemon? I mean, what was one card game that you took a shot on, that you really thought was going to make it big
And didn't.
and didn't?
Man, honest, John, there were a lot of them.
Well, I know you collected just about everything and
Yeah.
probably bought in just about everything. But was there one that you really were like, this is it, or did you see that out of Pokemon and kind of just have that with Pokemon?
I mean, that is such a good question. I don't have an answer right off the top of my head.
Okay.
One that I really thought was going to make it and didn't. Let me turn that around on you. What about you? Did something ever come out that you thought was a slam dunk
Yeah.
and it didn't get there?
Yeah. I mean, so for me, my name PokemonRadar. I've talked about this before, and my logo is a mixture of it's the Dragon Ball radar from Dragon Ball Z. Hi, Carl.
Right.
How you doing? Welcome. Dragon Ball Z was my Dragon Ball Z was my all-time favorite thing. It still is today. I enjoyed it more than Pokemon. I enjoy it more than Pokemon today. And it's a card game that really never took off, but they did quite a few sets, and they revamped it now with Dragon Ball Super, but there's still no attention on the early 2000 Dragon Ball Z. And within pop culture, growing up, I don't know if it was just because that was my focus or the people that I followed, but I heard Dragon Ball Z in rap songs. I heard Dragon Ball Z in so many more pop culture references than I did Pokemon. And maybe I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
But that's something that I really don't understand why it hasn't taken
And
off.
it is an absolutely terrific franchise.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I collected all the Dragon Ball Z sets. I
Mhm.
still probably have them. I don't know if those are in the house, but they're probably in storage.
Yeah.
But I collected all the sets. I even tried grading, like I can't remember the name of the set, but the Super Saiyan Goku, which was one of the premier cards. There were
There
two
was
premier cards,
from
and that
Frieza
was one of the
Saga.
two.
Yeah.
It might have been Frieza Saga. And I sent that. I remember I was the first one to send it to PSA to try to get them to grade it,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't even grade it. And then I tried again, and kind of what I did with the Shadows, I kept going over and over, saying, "Why not? This is a terrific card. I mean, a great history and a lot of very popular. What is it with these cards? Why can't you grade these cards?" So, man, I really see what you mean there. It deserves and deserved a lot more than it got. Because what's wrong with that?
Right.
With Dragon Ball Z, it's great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's again, the card game itself didn't take off, but it has. They did such a good job with the nostalgic art on the cards. They picked snapshots from the show, and the show was the biggest thing for Dragon Ball Z. So people could see these cards. At least for myself, I could see these cards and know what part of the show it was from and what was happening, and it was very nostalgic. And
well, there's tons of people like you.
Yeah.
Tons of people that felt the exact same way. That's why it doesn't make sense.
Right. So
Darian, our friend Darian, I mean, he is the biggest Dragon Ball Z fan. I mean, he flies all over the country to get autographs for him and I, for us.
Yeah.
And from voice actors and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of people. Why would Yu-Gi-Oh be more popular than Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah, I don't get it. I
Doesn't
mean,
make sense.
there was this natural progression of kids playing Pokemon, and then they moved to Yu-Gi-Oh, and then they moved to Magic. It was the standard transition of actually playing a game.
Right.
Dragon Ball Z was like and Harry Potter. They were just like these oddball sets that, because cards were so popular, everybody was trying to get in on it.
Right.
So they didn't really. I don't think they set themselves up as a solid game structure. They were just trying to hop on the trend, and that's just my theory, Michael.
I find it a little bit insulting comparing Dragon Ball Z to Harry Potter.
Yeah,
because I mean, Dragon Ball Z deserved a lot better.
Yeah,
no question. And it could still develop.
Right.
It really could.
Yeah,
it could still develop. They haven't given up. Dragon Ball Z hasn't given up.
Yeah, they're still making new shows, and they got new cards coming out.
That's right.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, hopefully I got to buy up some more before this comes out.
There you go.
But yeah, it's odd. But all right, so you're doing Pokemon full time. You've been dealing with PSA for a long time.
Yes.
Since '94.
Right.
Can you talk about the relationship there a little bit? Who you first started talking with, and how that relationship developed? Because from what I remember, you were in contact with one of the guys who started PSA before PSA started, correct?
Right.
For grading cards, at least.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit, or is there sensitive?
Well, just that. This was my sports card era.
Yeah.
And I had pretty nice collections from the 50s and 60s, which were valuable even then.
Right.
But not condition wise.
Okay.
Like I had all the the Sandy Koufaxes and the Willie Mays and
Mickey Mantle.
Well, I didn't have the 52 or the 52 Topps Mantle or the 51 Bowman Mantle. I never had those.
Okay.
I maybe you don't have one, do you? But I would like to. But all the other ones I had from the mid 50s and that they were just in bad condition. I just loved collecting them and so I wasn't that involved in the very beginning with the sports cards. Baseball with those cards. Now the baseball cards, I think probably the first set I graded was the 1989 Upper Deck set, which had the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie. Right, love that set, and I think the Randy Johnson rookie was in there also. That same year. So they were beautiful. They were tough graders. These little sharp white corners and so I did grade some of those, but I didn't really develop much of a relationship with PSA at the time. Okay. Really not until Joe Orlando, came on board, and when when Pokemon was in a little bit of trouble, I did a little bit with them grading with sports, but the Pokemon only with the television release, and with the Media Factory cards we brought over.
Right, for the shopping.
Yeah, that was all through PSA.
Right. Okay.
But then when Pokemon hit a roadblock there in the early 2000s, Birdman, Eddie Brenna Schultz, and I sat down and tried to think, because he had a huge inventory, I had a huge inventory. We both had a tremendous love for the Pokemon hobby, and we sat down and we started talking about what can we do about this. It was almost like Wizards of the Coast was starting to give up, getting a little bit lapsed. There's just another card game. that's going to go by the wayside like so many did before it. And Eddie and I were very invested and very much in love with the hobby, both, right? So it was a financial thing, and it was also something we cared about. And so we sat down for days and trying to figure out what can we do. We finally decided that even though there was 0 PSA at the time, besides the Japanese cards that we brought over, we thought, well, Wizards of the Coast never did a whole lot with the collectible side of it, and so let's start PSA grading these cards. At the time, you could go onto eBay and type in PSA Pokemon, and there'd be 20 listings there, and they would be all CD promos, right?
10 of yours, 10 of Ed's.
Yeah, it was just all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we decided to do. And so Eddie and I on our own, and again, Eddie, he'll probably be watching this. Everything I'm saying, he knows very well. We started, PSA grading the cards and trying to listing them and pushing them to our best customers and to our favorite collectors. And then with the with the birthday Pikachus, which we both had a large supply of, and other more popular Japanese releases, and Jungle, and Fossil, and Team Rocket, and Base 2. We just started, sending those in like crazy, and then coming back, and all of a sudden, the people started to take interest in them again. They saw that, well, let's see, this isn't just part of the card of the playing game that's kind of fell off a little bit. These are a collectible. Was the T206 that was big at the time, the Magnol Gretzky, Honus Wagner.
Honus Wagner,
Yeah,
thank you, yeah.
The Magnol Gretzky, Honus Wagner had come out, so they had seen the PSA slabs, and now, the Mickey Mantles, and so they, Eddie and I were kind of smart at the time because PSA, having in that slab, brought legitimacy, to the card, and super high value and great advertising and positive advertising and stuff, right? And that filtered into the Pokemon cards we were sending in. And so, all of a sudden people would see a base set Charizard, which is a card they loved anyway, right? And all of a sudden there it is sitting in a PSA slab. Well, this is legitimate. And they started selling. And it started pyramiding from 20 listings to 50 listings to 150 listings. Yeah, most of them were all Eddie and I. But eventually not. And now if you signed in right now and checked, it'd probably be over 1 million listings, right? So that's why, whether it's due or not, probably not really, not completely, but that's why people say that we had a lot to do with saving the hobby, was because it built back up after that.
Not just saving, but creating.
Yeah, that's
creating
right.
this hobby. I mean, I think it would have happened anyway.
Very possible.
But I don't think it could have gotten to this scale without the people that did it, that sat down and took that time to do it the way you did it. And obviously, looking back, things could have been very different if someone took a different approach to it, or didn't stick with it the way that you have, and at some point gave up. You didn't give up.
No.
I mean,
that's an interesting thing, because today, this is all Eddie and I still do. Right? Eddie is just as active as ever.
Yeah.
He's not so much the face of the hobby, maybe more so like I am, but he's just as important to the hobby as I ever was. But he's not the type to be out there, doing interviews and things like that.
You were lucky enough to be close enough to the pawn shop to get your face up.
Well, that helped. Yeah, that helped. No, I like to think I was a little known before that.
Oh, yeah. No, you definitely were. True. I'm talking about the outside of our E4 community.
Right, yes. Yes. Yeah, but Eddie is still grinding it out. He's still with it. And you talked about having a nice collection. Of course, he sells like crazy.
I've never talked to him. I've never bought from him.
Really?
Yeah, I've only...
That's almost impossible.
It's crazy. And the amount that I've heard about him, I think I crossed paths with him once or twice at a Worlds, but I've never said hello to him.
He's been to one Worlds, and that was in D.C.
That was okay. So I know who he is. Okay, so it was Dave Person then from Anaheim that I remember, and I've never talked. I've talked to Dave a couple times, but never talked to Ed. Never went up and.
Wow, that's he's a character. I'll tell you, he means a lot to me.
Yeah.
He means a lot to me. But he is a character. He's.
I'd love to get you two together and just see what comes out. See the stories that you guys.
Oh, we had so much fun at Worlds in D.C. Washington D.C. last year. Because we sat there with a whole bunch of nice cards on the table. We sat next to each other. So many people came and said, "Well, I never thought I'd see this. Never thought we'd see you guys in person and stuff like that."
Yeah.
It was really pretty heartwarming, to see that. And I know you mentioned like with Bo Dangers, because she was at that Worlds also, and her and I got a good chance to get to know each other and talk, and of course she saw Eddie, and that was a whole lot of fun. Scott Pratt, knew both of us extremely. He had been here and stayed at my house and that, but he had a great time talking with Eddie and I, and I guess if you got to talk, the real OGs, I guess you'd have to go back to that time when Eddie, me, and another guy, Steve Gordon, were involved. Steve Gordon had a ton to do with this success. Yeah. He's the one who was the point man to get all these cards over here pre-English release and that, and it was great memory, great times. And really, really good guys, which is still the case today. I mean, maybe you could count on one hand the negative side of the hobby, the people on the negative side.
Well, unfortunately, you're seeing a lot more of it because of how big we got. But, but of course, negativity always greatly outweighs the positivity that you see because that's just what shines. But positivity here, at least, the way we've kept our group with E4, and I'm still fairly new. I'm only 4 or 5 years into this. Right. But I've engaged so much, put so much of my time into it because I really see the true positivity that's in that group, in this group of people. Yeah. And
in that short period of time, you're very, very, very well known by everybody. There's nobody that doesn't know you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, it's because of of the work you've done. How you've supported the hobby, how, so you've done an awful lot in that short number of years, for sure.
It's that passion that, Pokemon saved my life. That's what I like to say. It was a big part of my life, big part of all of our lives. And now it's changing our lives at some point,
go. Yes.
It's like I said, allow me to quit my 9 to 5. Although, if I held on to the stuff I sold earlier this year, I'd be in a much better position. But we can all say that.
I know. I can't even tell you. I mean, it wasn't even a year ago. I was selling PSA 9 Charizards for $300, $400, $500.
Yeah.
I was selling 10 at a time.
I was the guy looking at them and not buying them.
I know.
Well, one thing I do want to touch on too is you're very well known for base set, and honestly, I don't see too much out of you other than base set. I know you had a ton of no symbol stuff, which you sold to our good friend Zach.
Yes. Or to Nick.
To Nick, yeah. And I know you've sold a lot of base set too to Scott and TCA and other guys. But
yes.
Did you get heavily into the later sets, the e-reader sets?
No. All the way up until the Neo sets.
Okay.
Pretty much, and then I was already overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because I had so much stuff.
Well, we're 15 years later from that 2005 period,
right?
And you're still, you're finally, breaking down a little bit on this wall here, but
yeah. Well, I moved all this stuff out, sold some, but I moved all of it out because I got a little bit afraid of. All the comments I was reading, from people saying, how can you keep stuff there? People will kill you for a TV set and, stuff like that, right? Yeah. And so I took everything out of here, and just because it actually got me worried, right? And I'm kind of trusting. I never was concerned, and I've never had a problem.
Right.
But in case there was, I didn't want to take a chance.
Yeah. I mean, you're very obviously very welcoming and open and whatnot.
Yeah, but now I did collect all the sets.
Okay.
The Sky Ridge and Aquapolis and all the subsequent sets.
Even after that EX stuff. Or?
I either have or had all the sets, and I still did my custom binders,
Right.
where I cut up boxes and made custom binders. I continue doing that, but not on a hoarding level.
Yeah.
That just on a fun level because I had fun with it. So that pretty much after Neo, but I have a lot of Neo, a lot of Gems, and certainly a ton of Team Rocket. And Jungles and Fossils I thinned out a bit on. The jungle set was an extremely tough grader. It still is, and so my good ones were so much in demand because I got them right after the base set. I got the very first run of Jungle, and so the blades were still decent. Before Wizards changed the blades later, they were still a little bit decent. So I got some of the best Jungles, and the no symbols were before the symboled ones, and so those are in much nicer condition as the symboled ones.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah. Still hard to get 10s, but
it's still hard to get 10s.
Solid 9s across the board.
Right, but those thinned out on me, and I wish I had saved more of those. But certainly base is kind of the most what I'm known for. Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, cool. I want to talk a little bit about diving into shortly your recent endeavors here. Obviously we started with your connection with Steve Aoki, and at this point we've all seen the video with Logan Paul, and I'm sure you've dealt with famous people in the past. But now it's a little bit more public with the way that social media is.
Right.
What you've done for the hobby has been incredible for us, and we could see how painful it was for you to sell that Charizard to Logan.
Oh man!
Although I think at the point brutal. At that time it was a record price. It was cash deal. Like that's so hard. To pass up, but you could see the pain. I don't mean to bring up a touchy.
Oh, not a bit.
But the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, the reasoning. Like you would know, I've probably for the last 15 years I've had daily requests for those cards.
Right.
People wanting those cards, and I never sold one. Never ever sold one. Did a couple trade outs, but that's it. Never sold one, and then. Kind of like the way I felt in the early 2000s when the hobby was going down a little bit, right? At that point when the Logan Paul thing started, I thought, well, let's see, remember the Pawn Stars thing also. There was Pokemon Go, and then the Pawn Stars came out, and it zoomed.
Yeah.
Well, we were going through this pandemic, where we were getting a little bit of more business and that, and then I said, well, let's see. This thing with Logan could add on to that, could build just like Pokemon Go Pawn Stars did. This could do the same thing, and which it did, which it absolutely did.
Much bigger than I'm sure anyone could have expected.
But you didn't have to be super smart to think that. I wasn't all that smart. It was pretty obvious. Yeah. And so, and what's happened since, I get contact from people saying, Gary, I've been trying to get one of those cards for years, and you would never sell to me, and now some fly-by-nighter comes by and you'll sell. I said, listen, do you have 20 million subscribers?
Yeah.
I say, listen, if you had 20 million subscribers, if Justin Bieber came to me today with his 150 million subscribers, I'd probably take a kidney out for him, right? In that, because selling to him, I knew was going to be hugely beneficial to the hobby. Plus, I could sense his sincerity. Of course, everybody knows he has a Squirtle tattoo and all that stuff, but getting to know him prior to that, for other reasons, getting to know him, and then having that come up, he was just flat out sincere. Now, if he sold everything tomorrow, I would have a chance to get that one back, though. But if he sold everything he has tomorrow and he totally got out of the hobby, it wouldn't change what was in his eyes that night.
Right.
He seriously cared,
Yeah.
about the hobby.
Yeah.
And he totally was respectful to me, and he knew all about me in that, which means he had to know something. He had to have been an enthusiast for a while.
Yeah.
And so at that moment, I thought, what's more important, the way that he felt about getting that card and the good it could do with all of his media presence, his social media presence, or me having an eighth one, because I was down to 8 at that point,
Right.
and then went down to 7, and then I thought, probably the last thing that went through my head, because you notice I said, well, I can't remember how I phrased it, but before I said yes, the last thought, and again, I've never said this to anybody, not even to Logan, the last thought that went into my head was, well, let's see, probably this is going to be a $250,000 card tomorrow by doing this. Okay, from 150,000 to 250,000. I said, okay, well, I still got 7. Well, by selling him one card for 150, I hate to say this because it's kind of cold, but it's how I felt. Selling him one card for 150,000 increased the price of my 6 by 100,000 each.
Yeah.
So there's $600,000 I made by selling him that card.
Right.
That was the last thought that went through my mind. All the other emotional stuff went through first.
Right.
And then when I the kicker, the real kicker was that I thought, boy, how many times can you say that by selling something you're going to increase the value of everything else 40% or whatever.
Right.
And so that was the last thing. This I said, I'm going to do it. In that. So there was just simply nothing but an upside to the whole entire thing. In fact, looking back on it, I would have looked like a complete idiot if I didn't do it. In that. So, because he would have found it somewhere else, he would have gotten it, and then the prices would have my prices would have went up too, but I wouldn't have been the reason why, or maybe it wouldn't have happened.
Well, I think
maybe he wouldn't have got one. Who knows?
You were the right person to do it, because that moment, it was this couch.
It was
moment,
that couch.
It was it was special. It was,
you're sitting right where Atlanta Road's. So, Let's leave it at that. The real story with all that. It was mainly because he could help promote the hobby, and the hobby would be healthier as a result of doing it.
Right.
And so
then you went
story.
ahead and donated $100,000 to that charity event.
My wife and I did. Yes.
You, I think mostly Thuan.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, she's the brains and the money.
Right.
And the brawn.
So I mean, you're doing great for the hobby. You're doing great for your community.
Sorry, 1 second.
Hey,
Eddie Brenneschultz.
You want to take that?
No, but I'll call him back.
That'd be an interesting back and forth.
Should I?
Yeah. Put it on speaker.
Eddie.
What's up, dude?
Hey, how you doing? Listen, you're on live right now. I'm in the middle of an interview with PokemonRadar, John. And so say hi, John.
Hey, John, what's happening?
How you doing, Eddie? Nice to meet you.
This is Birdman. What's going on?
Nice to meet you.
Oh yeah, he knows you. We were just talking about you.
Oh yeah?
Talking about the early days and all the stuff you and I did, and.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We grinded it out for a good 6 years to get things going again. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's true. It was about 6 years before it finally all clicked.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get you two in the room together one of these days here to share old stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Eddie would be a great interview if you could get, because no one's ever interviewed Eddie.
Is that so?
Yeah, if you could get Eddie.
Yeah, things have been so busy. It's not. It's like there's no time to sleep.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Well, no, I'm glad you called at the perfect time, because we were just talking about you for about 20 minutes. I was talking about you, and now all of a sudden here you are.
Do you want me to do any input on anything? Anything specific?
Yeah. You have any questions for Eddie?
I mean, I kind of wanted to hear what this conversation was going to be about, but I mean, do you?
Well, actually,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I actually was calling Gary. Well, we was catch up on some stuff, but actually was about PSA orders is what I was doing because I know the price is going up. I heard they're like charging like whatever the top dollar is for any card they find. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not.
You mean the upcharges?
The upcharges, yeah. I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I got first edition based Charizards, Blastoise. I got all right out of packs, and I just don't. I'm not really, you know, like ever since they messed up my Illustrator, I'm not like I haven't been too happy. I've been, you know, I've been buying them. I haven't really been grading them. But, you know, I have hundreds of thousands of cards you had to create.
Oh, I know that. I know that. Listen, can you you know, just for everybody listening,
Yeah.
can you give me a little background on that Illustrator problem?
All right. I sent in the Illustrator, and obviously the first thing they did was they said, I sent it in a lower value, you know, like 25,000 or something. And they said, no, it's, you know, Scott said he did an interview and said he sold it for 90,000, you know,
Scott,
whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, so you saw an interview, and that means that's just the price of the card because you read an article, you know?
Yes.
And then because of the Illustrator, the card was one of the nicest scented ones I've seen. And I've seen numerous ones.
I know you have.
My hands many times.
Yeah.
And it was really nice, and it was clean. It was a lock 9. And they gave it an 8. And then I sent it back in for a review. And they put, like, side to side, like it's an 8.
Right.
And, I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, it was better scented than most of the 9s I see.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so upset with it because I asked to send it to Joe Lando directly, not realizing he was starting to phase out of that area.
Yeah.
But I kind of told him, I'm the guy who you sent like the 1,000 broken cases back to. Maybe you could like to take a personal look at this, you know?
Yeah.
But the message never got to him.
Oh.
That's really what happened. And I think they just kind of spited me and just gave me an 8 and charged me $3,000. You know, and I was really turned off by it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just inconsistent grade. It was because it was the Illustrator. They hit it heavier. This is a special card. It was graded like any other card.
Yeah.
You know, you don't give a 10 to a card that's $1 and give an 8 to a card that's $100,000. You know, it's supposed to be even across the board.
True.
I mean, you know, they got you know, because we started Pokemon again, and you know, I was having to the Japanese cards. They got a store over in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who was the guy bringing all the Japanese cards over? Scott had his 10 and 15 major cards, and you know, and I was bringing all the trophies and authenticating them from. Now, you know, now they got the store over there, and you know, I was really upset that they gave me a hard time with that.
Right.
You know, and they were like, you know, I just want to be treated fairly.
Yeah. Let John ask you a question.
Oh boy.
Is that okay?
I kind of want to get an embarrassing story or something out of you about Gary, but I don't know if he wants that on the podcast.
Oh, I don't mind.
you got any just one nice story about a dealing between you and Gary, or something that you ended up taking that he didn't?
Well, I'll just tell you an interesting story one time, because, you know, me and Gary, we were hustling week to week, literally buying. We were just trying to keep the hobby going. We would take, like, Gary's finding a deal. I found a deal for like $3,000. We'd pay his boss $1,000 a week to pick up a little bit, and we'd be selling it all week, trying to sell just to get the money, just to get through another thing. We started, you know, he came back, you know, we started with like nothing, and there was no market. So we're trying to build a market and buy stuff and, you know, keep it interesting. And the only interesting thing, like, I always was willing to overpay a little more than Gary was, even though his sensibility was correct. My vision was just lucky. Or maybe I was just, when I saw something, I was very confident in my opinion. So if I saw cards and he didn't see them, and he said it's a little too high, sometimes I'd buy them.
Right.
And I'd say, remember that business deal we didn't do? Well, I bought him, and now I'm putting him into business because I have them all pre-sold.
And I always regretted it every time.
Yeah. You never regret it. I'm talking about when they bought the cards, and they put them back in our business.
Oh, okay.
The first edition base cards, like a couple of times the price was a little high, but I knew there was like 7 or 8 10s in there. You know, we were picking up primo collector stuff at the time. We were buying everything in sight. As soon as we got money, we spent it on cards.
Right.
But we barely lived week to week. You know, we were not. It took us. What's the first time? Yeah, like 2009 is the first time I think we ever got a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I know.
Like 4 or 5 years.
Also, we had there was, you remember we used to share a lot of the first edition base, and there were times we had like 500 PSA cards, first edition base hollows.
You know, you talk about the first edition Charizard. I think it's getting a little worse when I get older, but I have photographic memory, and I can pull up certain things in my head.
Yeah.
There's a time we had 12 thick and 8 thin PSA 10 Charizards.
Yes, we did.
That's 20. And
12
we carried
thick.
20 PSA 10s almost all the time.
Wow.
Yep. That's true.
We had like 37 PSA 9s at one time. Out of that 120, I bet you we have 80 of them.
Yeah, I've told people that before, that over half of them you and I graded.
No, more than half.
Yeah.
More than half. I mean, really.
That's amazing.
But it kept going. I'm kind of surprised it stuck at that number for so long. But I'm going to have to change that next week.
Oh, really? I have a PSA 9 quality one in right now. Maybe that'll get a 10.
I have one in a pack. It's right in a pack.
Well,
My Blastoise is flawless. I mean, I really want to send it back and try for a pristine 10, but if it didn't get the 10, you know, with the 9.5, they aren't, you know, there's just too much of a differentiator. I would love to get the pristine 10 in the Blastoise.
Wouldn't that be nice?
You know what? The card is that clean. I've never seen one as clean in a long time.
Wow.
Every box, you know, sometimes they have the scuffing on the back of the boxes. They spent $15,000, and the back of the cards were scratched on the back side. It was horrible, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I get 8s and 9s, and no charge on the box too.
Yeah.
And that's happened a few times.
Well, that's great. Thanks for telling us all the story.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Eddie. I'll be wrapping up with Gary here shortly, and you can give him a call
all right,
back.
nice talking to you.
Yeah.
And, all right, give me a buzz when you get a chance. All right?
I'll do that, Eddie. Okay.
All right, take care, guys.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was quite an unexpected treat.
Yeah.
That is Birdman's the OG from 21 years in the hobby, his first interview.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive for all of you guys. You know, to hear that for the first time.
I might have to take a couple of things out of there that he said, but just to be on the safe side. But that's hilarious that he called during this.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm glad that happened.
Yeah.
And we were you know, just as close as he said. You know, and it wasn't just Pokemon; it was everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know each other's families like our own.
Yeah.
In that, and hard times, you know, difficult health times and things that we shared with everybody. So he's been, you know, just a terrific friend every single day for all of these years.
Awesome.
So that was pretty cool.
That's special.
Yeah, that was neat.
Special. Well, let's get wrapping up here. You know, I know you've had a crazy week here, and you need some rest, and I'm headed out soon here too. But you know, I just want to thank you again for letting me be a part of the charity event. Can't wait for next year's. Thanks for welcoming me in your home again.
Oh, absolutely.
Getting to spend some time with you and your family.
I just hope it doesn't take this long next time.
Yeah.
You know, I hope you come sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could talk for hours. So
yeah, and we'll go over to Steve's house, do some cliff diving.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, do you have any last things you want to leave off with before we take off? Well,
you know, just the one thing about. You know, a lot of people are wondering what's going to happen, you know, the future of the hobby. Well, I know when you interview with Bo Dangers, you know, you both had your opinions in that. And I'll just give my quick opinion on it. And that is, I think that there may be a leveling off, maybe like she said. I don't think there's going to be any kind of a decline, and I think next year is going to be monstrous. So now I know a few things that other people don't know about what's going to be occurring next year, and so I it's a little bit of an educated guess, still a guess, but a little bit of an educated guess. I think the hobby is safe today. It'll be safe tomorrow, and it'll be safe next year. So, you know, that's my feeling on that. And I know that's what everybody wants to know. Right. You know.
Right. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, John.
Make sure you guys follow him, the real KingPokemon on Instagram, and of course, what's her new tag?
Yeah, my wife's new tag is at Autism Instruct.
Autism Instruct. They're
Yes.
doing great things for their cause and
Yes.
their daughter, and of course, very influential with the Pokemon community.
Yeah.
So thank you guys again, and
Absolutely. Thank you, John. Thank
we'll
you
see
all.
you next time.